What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back or welcome to Engaging with Your Government. I'm your host, Stephen Connor. Today we will be having a discussion about a topic that we have been debating as Americans since the beginning of our country. Our founding fathers debated this, and that's the electoral college. What's the purpose? What's the history? What are the pros and the cons of the electoral college? You'll find all that and more on today's episode of Engaging with Your Government. Get started with today's video, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share. Also hit that post notification bell so you can get notified whenever we upload a video. Without further ado, let's get started with today's topic. The Electoral College was established in 1788 by Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution, which also established the executive branch of the U.S. government. The Founding Fathers created the Electoral College as a compromise between electing the president via a vote in Congress only or via a popular vote only. The Electoral College comprises 538 electors. Each state is allowed one elector for each representative and senator. D.C. is allowed 3 electors as established by the 23rd Amendment. So let me give you an example. So states like Vermont, who have 3 electoral college votes, have it because they have 2 senators and they have 1 at-large district. Them, Wyoming, Alaska, and there's a couple of other places that operate like that as well. However, you have states like California that have 55. That's because they have 2 electoral. That's because they have 2 senators, and then they have 53 Congress people. So that's just to give you an example. I don't know if it's 55, 54, but that's how they got there. So it's the number of total representation you have in the U.S. House of Representatives plus the 2 senators you have as well. And how this is determined, the population is the same way the House is drawn up. The census that happens every 10 years. In each state, a group of electors is chosen by each political party. On election day, voters choosing a presidential candidate are actually casting a vote for an elector. Most states use the winner-take-all method, in which all electoral votes are awarded to the winner of the popular vote in that state. In Nebraska and Maine, the candidate that wins the state's overall popular vote receives 2 electors, and 1 elector from each congressional district is appointed to the popular vote winner in that district. For a candidate to win the presidency, they must win 270 of the electoral college votes. So whoever gets to 270 electoral college votes actually wins. So that's how it goes. Whoever gets to 270 first wins, as we all know, as we all see. And someone once asked me, well, what happens if someone gets to 270 first and someone surpasses them? That's not possible. Whoever is, only one person can get to 270. Now, it's possible it can get tied. It could be the same number without either person getting to 270, but only one person can get over 270 votes. And I want to explain real quick the whole electoral thing and popular vote. So the electors are chosen by each political party. They're usually higher ups within the Democratic and Republican Party. Bill Clinton was one in 2016 for New York. I think the only rule is you cannot be a current elected official. The popular vote. So when each state votes, how we decide who gets the popular vote is based on who wins the popular vote in the state. So let's say I'm running in California against the Incredible Hulk. I get 51%, he gets 49%. I take all 50-something votes that California has. No matter how close it is, no matter if the person wins by 1 vote, literally by 1 vote, they still take it. However, in Nebraska and Maine, for a candidate to win, you have to win the popular vote of the state, of course, but then you also have to win the popular vote in each congressional district as well. And so that's how they do it as well. So you can win the popular vote in the state, and you can lose the popular vote for the state, but you can win the popular vote in a certain congressional district, and you'll still be awarded electoral votes. I hope that makes sense to you. So I have 3 pros and I have 3 cons, and I have them linked in the description down below so you can go check it out for yourselves once this is over. But let's get into the pros and the cons. Pro 1. The Electoral College ensures that all parts of the country are involved in selecting the President of the United States. If the election depended solely on the popular vote, the candidates could limit campaigning to heavily populated areas or specific regions. To win the election, presidential candidates need electoral votes from multiple regions, and therefore they build campaign platforms with a national focus, meaning that the winner will actually be serving the needs of the entire country. Without the Electoral College, groups such as Iowa farmers and Ohio factory workers would be ignored in favor of pandering to metropolitan areas with higher populations, leaving rural areas and small towns marginalized. Con 1. The Electoral College gives too much power to swing states and allowed the presidential election to be decided by a handful of states. Since we just coming off of a presidential election, I have had multiple people say, Stephen, why did 7 states get to decide this election? That's terrible, this, that, and the third. So I have heard this before. So the 2 main political parties can count on winning the electoral votes in certain states, such as California for the Democratic Party and Indiana for the Republican Party. California in this election was really red, surprisingly. I think Trump got like 39% of the vote or something. He might have got more than that. He did really good in California, which shocked me because my whole life California's been blue. I was like, oh, wait a minute. It's just like, to me, if Florida or Texas turn red or if Indiana turn blue. Speaking of Indiana, Indiana for the Republican Party is one of the states they can rely on being a red state. However, without worrying about the actual popular vote totals, because of the Electoral College, presidential candidates only need to pay attention to a limited number of states that can swing one way or the other. A November 6, 2016 episode of PBS NewsHour revealed that Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton made more than 90% of their campaign stops in the so-called 11 battleground states. Of those visits, nearly 2/3 took place in the 4 battlegrounds with the most electoral votes: Florida, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and North Carolina. Pro 2. The Electoral College was created to protect the voice of the minority from being overwhelmed by the will of the majority. The founding fathers wanted to balance the will of the populace against the risk of tyranny of the majority, in which the voices of the masses can draw out minority interest. Using electors instead of the popular vote was intended to safeguard the presidential election against uninformed or uneducated voters by putting the final decision in the hands of electors who are more likely to possess the information necessary to make the best decision in a time when the news was not widely out there. So it wasn't like you could turn on the TV and get world news from whatever station you wanted: Fox News, MSNBC, CNN. It was none of that. It was no Wi-Fi. You relied on people on horses to deliver you your news. Sometimes it took months, days. The Electoral College was also intended to prevent states with larger populations from having undue influence and to compromise between electing the president by popular vote and letting Congress choose the president. Con number 2. The Electoral College is rooted in slavery and racism. The populations in the North and South were approximately equal, but roughly one-third of those living in the South were held in bondage. Because of its considerable non-voting slave population, that region would have less clout under a popular vote system. The ultimate solution was an indirect method of choosing the president with about 93% of the country slave toiling in just 5 southern states. That region was the undoubted beneficiary of the compromise, increasing the size of the South's congressional delegation by 42%. When the time came to agree on a system for choosing the president, it was all too easy for the delegates to resort to the 3/5 compromise, counting only 3/5 of the enslaved population instead of the population as a whole as the foundation. The particular system that emerged was the Electoral College. Pro number 3, and the final pro. The Electoral College can preclude calls for recounts or demands for runoff elections, giving clarity to presidential elections. If the election was based on popular vote, it would be possible for candidates to receive the highest number of popular votes with actually obtaining a majority. This happened twice, with President Nixon in 1968 and President Clinton in 1992, with both men won the electoral votes and receiving just 43% of the popular vote. The existence of the Electoral College precluded calls for recounts or demands for runoff elections. The electoral process can also create a larger mandate to give the president more credibility. For example, President Obama received 51.3% of the popular vote in 2012, but 61.7% of the electoral votes. In 227 years, the winner of the popular vote has lost the Electoral College vote only 5 times. This proves the system is working. Con number 3, and the final con, and after this, I'll give you my conclusion. Democracy should function on the will of the people, allowing one vote per adult. There are an estimated 337 million people in the United States, but just 538 people decide who will be president. That's about 0.00156% of the population deciding the president. In 2016, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by more than 1 million votes, yet still lost the election on electoral votes. If anything, representing democracy in the 21st century is about political equality. It's about one person, one vote, everybody's vote counting equally. You're not going to convince a majority of Americans that that's not how you should do it, says Jesse Wigman, author of Let the People Pick the President. So those are 3 pros and those are 3 cons of the Electoral College. So you let me know down below, what do you think? Do you think we should abolish the Electoral College and we should let the popular vote replace it, or should we keep the current system we have? I just want to note that let me double check to make sure I'm correct about this. But I believe in order to abolish the Electoral College system and put in a new system, you need 2/3 of majority in Congress and 3/4 states approval. Do I think 2/3 of Congress and 3/4 of state approval? Is that possible in this day and age? No, absolutely not. I certainly don't believe that. But that's what it would take if we were to get rid of the Electoral College. Like I said, you let me know down below, what do you think? Do you think we should keep the current system in place, or should we replace it entirely with the popular vote, or should we get a whole new system? You let me know. The pros and cons will be linked in the description down below. Thank you all for watching. The next couple of videos I'll have are the pros and cons of cell phones in school. That's one video I will be doing that will be coming out soon, and also pros and cons of term limits. So be on the lookout for those 2 videos. Until next time, be good people. Stephen Conner out. Peace.